Hi, this is David with Shur-Loc Fabrics, and today we're going to take a look at the Squeegee Clean and how to extend the life of your brushes, and also how to put in some new brushes as well if you just need to replace them. So let's take a look at this used Squeegee Clean here. And you can notice that the bristles themselves are starting to V back in a direction. So as you rotate this around and the squeegee goes in there, it will over time start to put pressure on those bristles and they'll push them back in directions opposite of themselves. What that does is that opens up a larger area in the middle, and that reduces the ability for the brushes to actually clean the squeegees. So what we're going to do is we can actually swap these packs of brushes around. So we'll take this out, do a 180 with it. So now the bristles will be facing the opposite direction, but when you turn the handle in the same direction that you were before, it's going to be fighting back, and it'll eventually get them back to straight, and then eventually they'll go back the other way. So this will buy you some time on having to buy some new brushes. Of course, if you just want to cut to the chase and get some fresh new ones, then that's awesome too. But we'll go through both. Process is basically the same for both. So let's get started here. A couple of the tools, let me move this stuff out of the way here. A couple of the tools that will be handy is a flat blade screwdriver that may work well, or a pry bar for pulling on here. It depends. If your Squeegee Clean has been sitting dry, I'd recommend that you soak it, just fill it up with water and let some of those bushings in there and stuff absorb some of that water, so it may come apart a little bit easier because it can lock up over time. So fill that baby up if it's been sitting dry. In order to remove the gear guard, we're going to need a 532 Allen wrench, so you can grab one of those, just these top two. We'll do that in a sec. And then I've got a 1/2 inch open end wrench that's going to remove these two guys on the back here. So to give you a better idea, I've also actually got a couple other parts here too. You can either use 1/4 inch or 5/16, a rod of some sort. This is all thread, that if it is sticky and you need to tap it out with a hammer, you can use that as well. So also a bolt will work well. Anything that's round that will fit in there could help give you an assist to just tap that right out. So before we get started, I actually will just give you an idea of what we're looking at here for the components inside. So we have this new setup here. This plate right here is the gear plate. So this actual gear is fastened right onto this gear plate. This gear plate is welded to a square shaft that runs all the way through. So we've got one spacer here that's also a bushing. We've got a spacer on the other side that's a bushing as well, and that's what it rides on when it turns. Then in the center, we've just got a spacer, so that just keeps the gap in between the brushes. On the far outer end, we've just got our 5/16 nut. It's a stainless nut here, and that'll take a 1/2 inch wrench to remove. So that's what I'm going to get started with here, but you can see the complete assembly of what we're going to put back together. So we'll start off by taking our 532s, just loosen the gear guard up here. And it makes it look like we've got a third one down below, but really all that is kind of a kickstand or a spacer. So there's no need to take that out. You can see it's just a blank. And we do that because we don't want to penetrate the box down where there's liquid. So there's just the two spots up here. Then we'll rotate around to the back, grab our 1/2 inch wrench, and these ones I've already broken loose, so you can see that that's real easy. There's no real need to super tighten those up when you're done either. It doesn't take a lot of torque. It's really just a keeper. It doesn't hold everything together with the force that you apply to it or anything like that. It really just keeps the shaft in place. So there's a couple separate pieces here. So there's the plastic spacer, you've got a washer, and you've got your bolt. So let's remove both of those. Just keep all those pieces right together. You can see that exposed our square shafts there. So I'm going to turn this in a position where I can more easily work on it. We've got our gear guard off here, so we can see that that's all ready to go. No need to take off the handle, that's totally fine. So I'm going to pull this out, and just kind of shift it back and forth. It's really easy to put a little bit of side pressure on it that makes it feel stickier than it is. So one of my bushings just stayed right on the shaft. That's totally fine if it's the one that's on the far outside. So I'll just set that aside there. And then once I take out my brushes, just to keep everything in check, there's going to be your center spacer there. But whichever way they came out, just immediately turn it right around. So we're just doing a 180-degree turn. That's going to rotate the bristles in the opposite direction there. So that's all we're going to do. We're not going to swap positions or anything. We're just going to go 180 and put them right back in. So once we've got that, I'll just lower that right back in here. And my other spacer, which is really common, fell down inside there. So let me, before I get too far, let me make sure that I get that out. There it is. I'll just slide those right in. Doesn't matter where you rotate. The gears are going to mesh right up one spot or another, so don't worry about that too much. This is a square hole here, so it obviously has to line up, and that's what makes everything turn in there. So I'm just going to get this started. And before you put on the second brush, so I just got the first brush on, I want to make sure that I put that spacer in there because that's going to keep the distance apart from the two brushes themselves. And then we're going to try to get this lined up here. Hopefully it'll go pretty smooth, and get the other brush on here. So I'm just trying to find that square hole on the opposite end. There we go. And we'll get this little front bushing in here. And if you're pushing on it, it's not going in, it's probably because these gears are overlapping on the front here. So you can just give that a good little push. We've got our last spacer and bushing that you can actually put in from the outside. No need to try and fight with that on the inside. And what that's going to do is that's going to push all your brushes right back to where they need to be. So we don't lose the progress that we've had so far, let's just take our little plastic piece here. I'm just going to turn that on by hand for now. And then I've already took the other one out, so this one is our next culprit. So it's good to grab top and bottom, give it support, because if you're just pulling on one side, you're going to put binding pressure on it. So grab it top and bottom, maybe side to side, if yours is a little bit stickier than mine. And just slide this guy out. Looks like everything's going to come off with that. You can see one of my bushings is right here. That's the outermost one. We might as well just put that one right back on. So we'll do that. And I've got my center spacer here. And again, just to keep your bearings for where you're at on all this stuff, just lift the two brushes right out. We'll just take that pack, we'll rotate it right around, so we're reversing the angle of the bristle direction there. And before I put those in, I'll grab my little outer bushing and spacer there. So let me put both of those brushes back in, and I'm separating them apart in there so I can get that center spacer in. I found my square hole inside there, grab my center shaft, get that lined up. Sometimes it's easier said than done. There we go. And once you get that center spacer in, push the shaft past the center spacer so some of that square shaft is through to the other side. And then it's just going by feel and trying to get that square shaft in. So there we go, we got that one in. So I'm just gonna line this up. I'm getting this bushing in right here. I'm gonna mesh the gears together, push it in the rest of the way, and then I've got my outer bushing that will slide right in there. Grab my outer keeper bolt here and spacer. Just get that started. And if you push in on that plastic spacer here, that's gonna center up your brushes inside the box. And like I said before, just grab the gear and just give this a little bit. it's going into aluminum on that shaft, so there's not tons of support. We don't recommend that you have a large wrench or put a lot of torque on that. So just snug those up, that'll hold it in just fine. And we've got that all set up there. We'll take our gear guard, just get that lined up on here. Start those by hand, make sure the threads are started well. Get it centered up on there. Again, this one is just more of a finger protector on there, so you don't need a lot of torque on there. We get it all set up, but there we go. We've got that all set up. Make sure everything's running freely and smoothly on there. And we just reverse the direction now, so as we begin to rotate around and we put the squeegee in here, it will actually start pulling back on those bristles to start to straighten them out. You just extended the life of your Squeegee Clean brushes. For more information or for ordering additional parts for your Squeegee Clean or a brand new fancy one, you can go to Shur-Loc.com. Thanks so much for watching.